Kookaloo! This is our onboard race footage of the 2020 East Bay Regatta. This is race 1, the Eoin Yacht Club race. The date is July 31st, 2020. There were 13 boats competing in this year's East Bay Regatta. That's a good number for us. We're picking this race up just moments after the start. We were lucky enough to have a fairly decent start, and we are heading upwind to our first windward mark. The sailing conditions are actually quite good for a Kirby 25. The winds are fairly light. We're looking at about 5 to 6 knots of wind in the direction, which is pretty common for the East Bay area, is out of the southwest. Just remember, I post these videos so that I can review, learn, and hopefully get better. And I really do appreciate the comments and enjoy reading the tips that the viewers do provide. So thank you very much for those that do that, and please keep them coming. Every bit of information you provide is a great benefit to us. Thank you. The wind appears, at least from our perspective, to be pretty consistent across the entire course. So we're sailing just based on what we think is our favorable heading, and for us that appears to be the port tack. At this point, the winds are still fairly consistent. If anything, they may have increased slightly to maybe the 7, possibly 8 knot range. Our heading is still fairly good, so we see no reason to tack at this point in time. We've been on this port tack for quite some time now, and as a result we've become the lowest boat on the course, although in relation to the windward mark we're still in a fairly good position. But as we approach the far shore, the winds are getting lighter, the pressure is less, so we do decide to tack. Approaching us now here is Petrel. Petrel is P32, another wonderful boat. they are sailing at the exact same perf as us, also at 171. So when they cross in front of us, it's a clear message that we're starting to fall behind a little bit. We're happy to find that as we move away from that far shore, closer to the center of the lake, the wind does pick up. At this point, we think we have a good angle on the windward mark, so we decide to tack. Rounding the first mark, no boats are able to fly their Spinnaker, as we are all just sailing slightly off the wind. Ian goes forward to set up the pole. Normally, if possible, we like to do what's just simply called a bear-away set for our Spinnaker launch. This is one of the simpler sets that you can do. I'm a little worried though, as from where we're currently situated, it appears as though the next mark is very close to the shore. And with the wind angle, I'm thinking that it'll take us, in other words, there won't be enough time to put the Spinnaker up to get the Genoa down and then perform a jibe before running aground. So I ask him not to set up the pole or do anything early. We launch our Spinnaker out of the forward hatch. This means that the lines currently are set for a bear-away launch. Performing a jibe launch or jibe set would require raising the Spinnaker without the pole. Once the Genoa is down, then you would attach the pole, in this case on the port side. I realize that a change like this does put stress on the crew. We are a young crew with limited amount of experience, and we're going now against kind of our original plan. So for the next few minutes, of course, what we do is we talk over and over about how we're going to perform this type of launch, and it's something that the crew hasn't performed before. Now, however, as we round the second mark, I realize that there actually is plenty of room. We could have set up our Spinnaker pole early, and we could have performed the barroway launch that we normally do. So I decide and ask Ian to go back and do his normal procedure rather than performing the jibe set that we talked about. So unfortunately, this is going to cost us a little bit of time, and I'll take responsibility for this. I mean, ideally, you'd like to have your Spinnaker up as soon as you're rounding the mark. This will end up being one of the parts in this race that we'll end up regretting. As we become more comfortable as a crew, ideally something like this won't be as costly because we will set the Spinnaker no matter what the angle is, with the pole or without the pole. A quick launch of the Spinnaker, we try to fly it without the pole while the foredeck is cleaned up, meaning the genoa is taken down. The Spinnaker pole is attached later, and hopefully you're moving with more progress than just the genoa alone. So this is a bit of a slower procedure, but again, if we're counting here, we have to remember that this is probably the fourth or fifth time that the crew has ever launched a Spinnaker. So this is certainly not a complaint. This is just this is the learning process. Don't get too comfortable. Remember, we have to perform a jibe. Jibe completed, we now settled into a fairly long Spinnaker run, but really if the goal of this video is to be a bit critical, I'm disappointed to realize here that we didn't call for a loosening of the Cunningham or a loosening of the Oat Hall. Both of those would have been appropriate at this point in time. Unfortunately, here's the thing. If you've only put a spinnaker up 4 or 5 times, that means you've only brought down a spinnaker 4 or 5 times as well. Step 1 is to raise the genoa and then sheet it in fairly tight. You're hoping to avoid interfering with the shape of the spinnaker. This race has only one spinnaker leg, and therefore dosing the spinnaker really can be easily achieved any number of ways. An easy way of dosing the spinnaker is simply grabbing the spinnaker sheet fairly aft and bringing the whole spinnaker in through the companionway. This technique, however, would not be recommended if you were sailing laps. In other words, if you had mini spinnaker sets. This is because dosing this way would require that the spinnaker be repacked and all of the spin sheets would have to be rerun. Unfortunately, I make the mistake of bringing this very fact up at this point in time, saying that if we were doing laps, we would bring the spinnaker in either around the front of the genoa or underneath the genoa straight down into the front hatch. So unfortunately, what ends up happening, the spinnaker is brought in underneath the genoa. The problem is the spinnaker falls so quickly it lands in the water, and this creates drag which slows us down. The natural instinct, of course, is to grab the spinnaker as quickly as you can, haul it out of the water, but now we have the spinnaker coming in both over and under the genoa sheet, and this is going to cause us problems. Number one, the spinnaker is no longer just going to flow smoothly in through the companionway. It's caught up on the genoa sheet, and that's going to have the effect of not allowing us to trim the genoa as quickly as we'd like to. Now you're left thinking, well, this is probably going to cost us a few more seconds. So let's just try to make it a strong finish. Eoin clears away the starboard spin sheet. Unfortunately, the port side spin sheet still remains attached. When we tack, the genoa sheet becomes entangled with the old port spinnaker sheet. We can't bring the genoa in quickly. And unfortunately, this is going to cost us even more seconds on our overall time. By the time everything finally gets cleared up, the crew is feeling dejected. In relation to the lead boats, we did fairly well, but we you can't help but think with all these costly errors that we don't feel we're going to win this race. It's a quiet beat to the finish. No one is really talking. Results of the Eoin Yacht Club race. First place, Battle Cat, Flying Tiger 10, with a corrected time of 56 minutes, 49 seconds. Second place, Kookaloo, time, 56 minutes, 50 seconds. 1 second behind. I mean, really, did we deserve to win? Probably after the mistakes that we made. No, I don't think we did deserve to win. But when you're 1 second behind, and you can't help but think, oh, what could have been.